Hey again everyone, so Gran Turismo 7 just received its 1.17 update, and here we have the new Suzuki VGT Gr.3 car, and I've been driving a little bit with it so far to form my first impressions with it and to see how competitive it is amongst the other Gr.3 cars, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. If you didn't see already, a little while ago I made a video about all the Gr.3 cars around this track, Maggiore, to see which one's the fastest, ultimately to try help you guys find which cars are better for the Human Comedy event. But we're going to be taking a look at this car here around this track to see how good it is in terms of its lap time and its fuel efficiency, and then we're going to compare it with all the other cars on my list from that video. And I think this is a pretty good track to test around as well, because it's got a few of every kind of corner. It's got a couple hairpins, it's got some mid-speed turns and some high-speed turns. And just before we get into those results, we're going to talk about the car itself a little bit. And the main word I can pull out of the driving experience with this car is understeer. This thing is very understeery. It's probably like that Z4. It does move a little bit on the rear end coming out of the tighter turns and coming up the hill on this track, and it's very heavily understeery on turn entry. So it's very beginner friendly, but ultimately I don't think it's just quite up there. So let's take a look exactly where it sits. So to get my lap around here, I actually drove quite a few laps to get used to this car initially, and then eventually put a nice fast clean lap around here. This certainly isn't going to be that lap, talking while driving quite a lot, taking all my concentration away. But coming out of these tighter turns, the rear does move around quite a wee bit, so the traction control does save you a little bit, and in these mid-speed turns you have to lift off quite a bit, let the front end bite up. This one too, you'll have to brake a little bit earlier. It's just quite a lot of understanding coming out of these turns. Again, the rear end's going to move quite a lot, so mostly just be a little bit more patient, brake a bit earlier, let the car turn in, and you might want to be a bit more patient on throttle as well. Now we have another look at the spreadsheet. This is the results I got from that video from the other day, looking at all the other Gr.3 cars around Maggiore. And in terms of lap time, we can see this thing, it didn't have the pace. It's not the slowest, but it's certainly not the fastest that I've gotten around here. It just felt rather sluggish through the turns. It didn't do that great. And now we look at our fuel results, again looking at the entire field of Gr.3 cars. There's 45 of them now. And even with shifting a little earlier in this car's rev range, not going all the way to the end of it, which was about 10,700 or so, that's where I was shifting, I've gotten about 37 laps of fuel worth in this car. And I actually ran a couple laps with the full rev range of this car, and while doing that I only got 31 laps worth of fuel on the car. So make sure you're shifting earlier, or this thing is not going to do you any good. Now looking at our combined results, which takes the fuel and lap time score together to see which car's overall the best around here. Unfortunately, our poor little Suzuki sits right near the bottom in 43rd. It certainly doesn't have the pace, and you could probably shift a little bit earlier just to get a little bit more fuel efficiency out of it, but it's not going to do all that much. It's still going to be right near the bottom here, and this is just at Maggiore, so it might have slightly different results at other circuits. Overall though, it's just a very sluggish and lazy car through the turns. I think that's where it loses most of its time. So I hope this is some useful information for you. If you want to challenge yourself, it's probably a good car. Otherwise, it's not really going to be a car of choice for most of you. And if you're from New Zealand and you want to pick up some new sim racing gear, whether it be a sim racing wheel, pedals or more, or even gaming equipment, then be sure to check out NZ Gaming. I'll be sure to have their link in the description. Thanks guys, and I'll see you very soon.